Hi, welcome back to Hidden Disability Conversation. I'm Christina Irene.
And I'm Wendi Richards, and this is part two of disability identity.
As far as language goes, though, and what to say, here's an absolute, well, I think we shouldn't say that somebody suffers from a condition
Mm,
or struggles with a condition or is afflicted by a condition. And that's something that I still see in major media and in print. Is so and so struggles. I think I saw that was it last year or was that 2 years ago with a Will Smith situation at the Oscars.
oh,
They were
yeah,
talking about Jada Pinkett Smith and that she suffers from,
suffers. Yeah,
and I'm like, ooh, and I cringed. I'm like, you should know better. Like, let's get the word out about that. You should just say she has or she lives with, and it's up to her to say whether or not she's suffering. That's for her
yeah,
to tell you.
right. I what comes to mind too, Christina, is I think about parking spaces when I hear people say, "Oh, I need a handicap parking space." Handicap. It's like, it's cringeworthy. Now we say, I try to change and say accessible parking, you
Yes.
know, and
Yeah.
I'm really finding myself using that term so much more. Um, and again, when we say disability, years and years ago, that was a cringy word. That was a bad word. And
Well, even
people,
now have asked me, is it a bad word to say disability? And they're trying not to say
yeah,
it. I'm like, no, please say it because it's who I
yeah,
am and it's what I live with, and I need that word to be used.
I agree. And so um, we as a culture can make words negative. I hope that we can make people understand that saying, oh, that person has a disability, or talking with a person with a disability, I think just asking them what they prefer. But if there's somebody that you've just met, I think self-disclosure is what you want to wait for. You want to wait for that self-disclosure
Mhm.
and just kind of work with what they're telling you. Again, I just come out and say, I have a disability. I'm a person with a disability because I start coughing at times. And so I try to explain myself so people don't think, all this negative and that it's something catchy. And I find myself making a joke about it. I say, nope, it's only catchy to me. It only affects me. It's nothing for you. Um, but again, I try to put people at ease, I think. That's just in my nature, and I think you do that too.
Well, actually, here's a tip that I'd like to share with folks is that the idea that if there is going to be something that people might witness you doing, I like to say ahead of time that it might happen and not wait until the moment that it's happening to explain what's going on. So that's a good reason to disclose. For example, my stuttering or slurring my speech sometimes that
Mm.
I do. I like to say ahead of time that that could be a symptom of my fibromyalgia and my cognitive impairment, and not wait until in the moment when it's happening. And then it looks like I might be making an excuse or it's even more awkward or something like that. This way, when it happens, people are like, "Oh, okay, that's that thing. No big deal. It's everything's okay."
Right.
And even sometimes to the point where let people know that something might occur and if need be, like give them the what to do to help you in that moment.
That's a
Like
great point.
and
That's
that's
a great
empowering and it takes away from a lot of times people are uncomfortable just because they don't know what to do and they want to help but they don't know how. So if you just hand out like this might happen and here's what you can do if it does, they're going to be like, "Oh, great." And people love to help. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
They do, and I was just thinking, when we talk about it casually and informatively, we are, I think, putting other people at ease,
Yes.
and I have noticed talking about it openly with certain people, they're uncomfortable,
Mhm.
but it's okay. I'm not uncomfortable with it,
Mhm.
and I think most people who have had a disability for any length of time, being just open and honest about it creates empathy with the other person, or understanding. I mean, I don't want sympathy, and I don't think you do either, but you want somebody to understand why these symptoms are occurring. And I think it's a great idea to just disclose those things to be able to put everybody at ease. it's okay. I may start coughing. I may excuse myself. I may use my inhaler. Not a big deal. I think when we don't make it a big deal, it becomes not a big deal. And wouldn't that be great for everybody to understand one another and just be able to help if need be?
That's our mission right there.
Mhm.
Do we want to wrap up by tossing out some don't say this word?
I like that. And I liked the words that you were saying, suffers from, inflicted by, handicapped.
Mm,
Those are words that I think they used to be okay, or it used to be okay to say maybe those things. It's just not it's just not that way. And things we say now, 20 years from now, may not be acceptable either. I think if you just keep yourself open to new ideas and new ways of saying things, if your intent is good, I think it will come out. But
yeah.
yeah, saying suffering, inflicted, handicapped,
Uh,
um,
in a
mm,
wheelchair instead of using a wheelchair,
yeah,
or
yeah,
confined to a wheelchair, definitely
yeah,
don't say that.
yeah. And
Yeah.
goodness, don't help somebody who is using a wheelchair unless they've asked you. That could
Yeah.
be a whole nother episode we talk about.
Oh gosh, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Try to know what you're doing before you help, and respect people's mobility aids as a part
Mm,
of their body.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
So no, I think
don't
those are
touch
good words for
somebody.
us to use.
Other words not to use. Well, these are words that we don't want to say.
Yeah.
One word is cripple.
Oh,
Whether you're calling somebody that, but even some people with disabilities are sensitive to saying things like crippling anxiety, or
yeah.
this the software outage today really crippled the banking system. I mean, just like, let's just not say that word.
Uh,
um there's
Christina, what
force.
about crazy?
Yes, I'm really working on that one myself,
Yeah.
because we're so used to saying that and tossing it out there casually.
Yes,
So good substitute that I've been using, and I use it all the time now. Wild. That's wild. That's
I
so
like it.
wild. Um, and just using like the words for somebody's diagnosis casually, like
Yeah,
as whether as an insult or a joke. Bipolar disorder is not a joke.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
the weather is not acting bipolar. Bipolar is a diagnosis that is, very challenging to live with and very serious, and comes with stigma attached to it that it doesn't deserve. And we keep that attached by using that word casually. OCD, can
yeah.
we not? Can we
I'm
not?
guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. I've said those things, and I think what we're trying to achieve is an awareness, right, Christina? We don't expect perfection, but we
Mm-mm.
just want people to be aware that some of the words that they are used to using, just think about it. Just give it a thought and
Yeah,
think, could this be offensive to someone?
yeah,
And I have to do it all the time. You just said you have to do it all the time. And
right.
again, when our intent is for good, if we're using a word that we makes us feel uncomfortable and we think, oh, I probably shouldn't have said it that way, just try to do better next time. I think
And
that's really all we're
us,
asking.
for
Yeah.
us, a message to people who have disabilities, who
Mhm.
may be hearing others use words that we don't like. That's advice for us, is look at somebody's intention. And
Right.
that's just like a big picture life skill. Is somebody might say something or do something that hurts your feelings, but please, please, please look at what their intention is behind it. Look at who they are and what their heart is and what you see in their heart, and not kind of judge or be upset by a specific action and miss the big picture of that. That's a really good person
Yeah.
overall. Yeah.
Did we just come back to person first identity or
But there is no answer.
I
That
know.
I feel bad. Like,
Yeah.
people are tuning into this channel looking for answers, and we're
Yeah.
like, yeah, well, the answer is there's no answer.
I think the answer is, and we agree with, if your intent is for good, just use the words. Hopefully, if that it wasn't offensive, and if it was, maybe we can be kind enough to each other to just say, "Hey, would you mind using this word?" I know I am always open to learning more, and you know, being better. So if there's a word that we've used that people, you know, find offensive, I'm happy to be corrected or
Yeah.
just, hey, think about it in a different way. And that's fine. So that's what we're saying.
On our next episode, we are going to be talking about assumptions,
Mhm.
societal assumptions, where they come from, how wrong they are, what to do about it, what to not do.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and leave any comments.
Bye.
Bye. That'll do.
Okay.